Welcome back to Melodic Memories of Light's Monarch. I'm Casey, and I just wanted to say hi. How's everyone doing? How are my American listeners doing, if I have any at all, with the TikTok ban and the fact that Donald Trump is going to be inaugurated on the day you're listening to this? And also, happy birthday to my little sister. All of it happening on the same day. I know the TikTok ban wasn't the same day as his inauguration, but all the same, TikTok got banned for like 14 hours in the United States. I'm Canadian, so it didn't affect me none, as listeners should know. But I seen that TikTok got shut down for like 14 hours. It is already back. They are kind of supporting Donald Trump or saying that he is the reason. I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I will say, how ridiculous is it the fact that it ended up getting taken away for just such a short amount of time, and then they were like, nah, it's fine. It's like that SpongeBob episode where the two of them get put into jail and then they're like, all right, free to go, because they thought they did something wrong. Like, I don't know. Regardless, I really don't know why the United States felt the need to do that and what's going to happen from here on out. I have no idea, and I don't really think anyone really knows. It's kind of all up in the air, but I will have to say, TikTok has brought a lot of people together, has divided quite a few people as well, depending on what side of the algorithm you're on or what your algorithm looks like, the almighty algorithm. But TikTok has given us, as music lovers, a lot of new music and has given a lot of people the chance to make music for the very first time ever. Like, there was such an influx. I don't even know if that's the right word, but I'm going to use it. There was a huge influx of artists, brand new artists that made their way on TikTok, that found a following on TikTok and was able to create their career and really pop off all on TikTok. My mind goes back to Connor Price. People might not know who that is, but for those of you that do, he's a Canadian. He got a following outside of Canada because of TikTok, and he ended up reaching out to people, artists that are from all around the world. He has a series of songs like this that he does with people from completely different places in different languages, no matter what. He doesn't talk in the other language or rap in the other language or sing, but his featured guest will be in their native tongue. And I think that's something that I find so respectable. And that's one thing about TikTok music, is that some of it is very respectable, while other parts of it are most definitely not. But the whole reason I'm even talking about this is because it was banned, like I mentioned, and I just kind of wanted to reminisce a little bit on some of the memories that I made on TikTok, or that I was able to find, some music that I was able to find through TikTok. Like, obviously, Connor Price, my old roommate Kat, shout out to her. Doubt she's listening, but she's an amazing woman. Great lady, hope the kid is well. But she ended up sending me a song by this guy, and I will have to say, it is one of the songs that helped me so much through my breakup that I had, that was really hard to get through. And it was a song that, yeah, helped me. And then I found him on TikTok not long after, and I was like, holy shit, this is the same guy. No way. And along with him and a couple other songs here and there, were just TikTok songs. And a lot of them that got popular are not really my cup of tea. Not necessarily Connor Price in general. Not just specifically him, I mean, but just the whole app in general. It's either was really good quality music or was just music for people to make a following on TikTok. Like, specifically created or curated for TikTok and that algorithm. And I will have to say, it really brought some of the mainstream music to a little bit of a weird place. Like, lyrically, music has been at such a strange spot. I know that every single year, every genre, every generation, there's always some music here and there that will have questionable lyrics, or lyrics that sound like they could have been written by somebody that maybe not the most poetic. And I know that those kinds of songs have a place, and definitely more so now, because the explosion of it that we've seen was because of the app TikTok. And honestly, I'm not upset by it by any means. I think that it kind of made music a little bit less of what it used to be, a little bit less artistic, but it also opened it up to so many different avenues for so many different people that ultimately I would have to look at it as a good thing as somebody that wants to maybe start music himself and actually be able to get somewhere with it. And it doesn't have to be TikTok, it's just all of social media has given you, whoever you are listening, has given everyone a chance to be able to be something greater than themselves on the internet. Like, it's insane that you can have a personality. One doesn't really want to be fake, mind you. You want to try to be authentic, but it's just insane that social media, especially TikTok, was able to give that to so many people. And I'm not going to praise TikTok for what it might be doing behind the scenes or what it might be doing for certain people. Like, I'm just praising it for the simple fact that it was an outlet for a lot of people, and it was there for a lot of people that had to suffer through the pandemic, that felt alone, and it was there as a support system. Maybe not in the best way, maybe not in the most healthy of ways, because at the end of the day, it is still social media. That should be limited. You shouldn't be on it if you're, struggling with your mental health. It can get worse, but it can also get better. There's two sides of the same coin. And TikTok is one of the biggest in the game right now, and it is back in the United States, as I mentioned. It only lasted a ban for like 14 hours, but I just was excited to say that TikTok, with that era kind of being done, generation one of TikTok, if you will, that is over. I don't know if anyone's going to go back to TikTok. Maybe they already have. I will find out throughout the next week, but it's nice to see that TikTok is back. It looks like it's here to stay, and I am just one that wanted to say congrats to everyone that used TikTok, that was able to use TikTok as a tool rather than get drugged down by it, and actually follow their dreams and have it help them. So hopefully, if TikTok was one of your main forms of communication, your main streaming thing for your main way of getting out music, I hope that it's back for you. I hope you're able to continue using it and your fan base hasn't left. And if you're going to make some music, try not to make it just for TikTok. Those songs tend to be very empty and meaningless. Not saying every single one is like that, because there are some bangers, but you really have to sift through the whole haystack to find that one needle. And it's hard. It is very hard to do, but it is doable. It is possible. So to all those TikTokers out there, welcome back, and hopefully you don't have to leave again. So, just wanted to touch on that, a little bit of a ramble towards TikTok. My personal opinion, I don't have a problem with TikTok. I think it is a little bit of a problem in the sense that people have to limit their use, but otherwise, if you enjoy the app, if it is a place where you have your community, where you have your music, whoever the hell you are, regardless of what you identify as, I don't care, in the sense that TikTok, if that's your place, that's your place. Fucking get at it, babe. All right. Anyways, I also wanted to kind of touch on, I've been listening to some different music throughout this past week, and not different in the sense of artists that I've never heard before, but I have kind of went back in time a little bit to like 2007, 2009. I was listening to Mayday Parade. Now, I love Mayday Parade. I went off about them in my last episode. Not really that big of a surprise, to be honest. The little emo boy, the repressed emo boy, likes Mayday Parade. Wow, who would have guessed? Right? Not that big of a surprise, but with Mayday Parade, I only really knew, at least knew the most of it, the majority. I only really knew their first album, A Lesson in Romantics. That album fucking slaps. Anyone that thinks otherwise can fight me. I will stand on that hill. It is probably one of the best debut albums that any band has released. Now, that might be saying a lot. That I could see myself going back on, but that does not discredit this album, because it is one of my favorite debut albums that I have ever heard from any band. Why? I don't know, but I could really only chalk it up to being the fact that it is so incredibly emo. Even in the way that his voice is toned, the inflections on his voice, the way it's set, like everything to do with the album, vocally and musically, just in general with the instruments, it screams emo. And I know it's more of the mall kind of, mall goth or mall emo kind of scene. The mainstream stuff, not so much like other actual emo bands, but they're fucking emo. You can't you can't disagree with me in saying that. And their debut album really pulls that home. I know that they have an EP. I listened to that as well, but their first album, I honestly say nothing better from their discography. And that's saying that before listening to it. So I don't want to be ignorant. I am going through Mayday Parade's discography. I don't know how fast I'll get through it. I am taking my time. I'm letting it simmer. I'm letting myself really digest all of their music. And so far, I'm up to album 3. I'm up to their EP. I'm not going to try to say the name of it because I will butcher it, but it is the EP that has one of my favorite songs of theirs on it called Terrible Things. That song, if you want to cry, and I mean ugly cry, go listen to that song because holy shit, there is nothing sadder that they have released that I have heard, mind you. That song is something else. So I am really excited to listen to that EP in full. I have never heard it before. I know of it, and I've known of it for a very long time, but I've never listened from start to finish. I mostly only knew of it because of Terrible Things and the different version of Jamie All Over, because it's more of an acoustic, laid-back, stripped-back kind of version. Very good, but nothing beats the emo, angsty vibes of the original Let's Get Real. Okay, I'm not going to keep on sucking the dick of album 1, but album 1 is amazing. Last I will say about it. If you want some emo bangers to listen to, and something that might be feeling a little bit dated as of now, go listen to it. Because it fucking slaps, it holds up, and even if it's a little bit cringy in terms of today's standards, or if you weren't alive back then, God only knows, give it a listen. You might find something that you like, and if you don't like it, go check out their new song. It literally dropped a couple weeks ago at this point, if not even sooner than that, and it's leading up to a new album, so you might like that vibe a little bit more. Not that they've changed a whole incredibly lot. I think they lost a singer at some point, and whether or not they have any allegations because they are a pop-punk band, they might. I am unaware. I'm going to like them anyways until proven that I shouldn't. All the same, though, their art that I have heard so far is amazing. I love it. I got through their second album, Anywhere But Here, and that one, I couldn't tell you if I heard it before. I think I've heard a couple songs here and there from it, and ultimately, it slapped. It wasn't as emo in terms of just overall as the first album, but it almost felt more angsty. Like the guitar riffs, the solos, like it felt more akin to something that was a little bit heavier, a little bit more grungier. Maybe they were going for more of a mature sound with all the guitar solos. It reminded me, honestly, of granted, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying it sounded like it at all. I just mean on the solos, the fact that there were so many, very akin to like a Black Veil Bride song, or, even more so the classic rock roots of AC/DC, any of the ones that had a lot of solos. Not saying that the whole album sounded the same, but it had a lot of solos, which really wasn't the case in their first album. And I say all of this expecting you've heard it before, but in case you haven't, I would very much recommend it. It feels like the perfect follow-up to their first album, and it also has a little, I don't know if it's an Easter egg, it might not be right to say that, but their album artwork for A Lesson in Romantics, their first record, has a guy with an umbrella on it. And on the second record, it looks from afar like just somebody wearing a tie. A white shirt and a tie. But if you look closer, the tie has little white lines down it. akin to a highway or a road, and there's a little guy with an umbrella walking up it. It is the same guy as on the first record. Don't know who the character is. I really have to dive in, and once I do, I will let you know. But I'm just focusing on the music right now, and I will have to say the little, as I will say for right now, an Easter egg of that little dude being there made me think about it on a different angle, a different lens. And this album is a lot more, I want to say, straightforward. It kind of tells a story, and it's of him being with this girl that he knows it won't work, and no matter what, even though it's toxic and not good, they keep on pushing through because love, quote unquote. But ultimately, they either make it work or it ends in tragedy because there's 2 bonus tracks on the deluxe version. Now, that's all I'm going to say about it because I know that I do have a friend, Crystal, that's you, that is wanting to listen to them. So I'm not going to be here spouting out shit about everything to do with them, but I very much recommend it as an album. And I'm excited to see where they go from here because I really, really like Mayday Parade, if that wasn't already clear. Aside from that, though, I did go back and listen to some newer releases. And newer is a loose term, let's be real. Newer in the sense of, yes, last year, but releases that I totally glanced by. Ones that were in my tab on Spotify, the new release tab, but I just didn't care. Like, it's hard to say. I cared, but I didn't really want to listen to it because of that burnout that I was feeling so heavily. And with that burnout, it made me miss out on a lot of music. Not anything super crazy, but there are still some that I haven't went through, mind you, so cut me some slack here. But I did go back a little bit since the day that I was doing this. I looked and seen Hotel Mira. Shout out to them. They're a good band if you like pop music with like indie vibes mixed with some rock. I don't know if I'm even giving them justice in trying to define their genre. They're just really good. Go give them a listen. I got to see them live once. Their show was very impressive. And the stage presence that they have for being such a small band is wild. But I was listening to that, and it made me want to continue on downwards, down the list. And I started listening to stuff that I meant to a long time ago, but never got to it until now because I just wasn't really feeling it. And those songs being Float, which is an Echo feature. If anyone knows him, he's like honestly, a emo slash dark rapper. I don't really know how to explain it. He raps very sad things, or things that are sad to him, and kind of nerdy stuff too, over very heavy, hard rock kind of beats. It's interesting. Not every song works, but the ones that do, they do. And Float is one of the ones that he's featured on. It's not amazing, it's not my favorite, but it is there, and I liked it enough to mention it. Then, obviously, the Silverstein song, I already listened to that though, but I didn't check out their second single that they dropped called Confession, which dropped last year. Like, not early, but late last year, but a lot earlier than this single. So, again, I kind of slept on it, but it was good. I have to say, I'm excited for Anti-Bloom, and it is weird to say that the album artwork that they chose for it screams Coldplay, and Silverstein and Coldplay do not go hand in hand. I don't even think they mix, but hey, I'm here for it. I'm excited. Wow, is it ever pretty? I just hope the music sounds good, because so far the singles, the first single they released with Skin and Bones has been the best, and then Confession was pretty good, and Don't Let Me Get Too Low was good. It seems like they're walking down the stairs, and each single release subsequently, for the singles at least, have kind of gotten a little worse. Not saying they're bad, but a little bit worse than the first single that they dropped for the album. Then, obviously, By the Way by Mayday Parade. Don't need to touch on that one. A good fucking single. Was preceded with Pretty Good to Feel Something, that came out before. Came out earlier last year. Don't need to touch on that either. If you want to listen to it, go listen to it. Mayday Parade slaps. Anyways, uh, continued onwards to then listening to Haunted. This came out December 17th. Okay? I was gone from new music releases for like 4 or 5 months. I don't know what I was doing. Because Haunted, wow, it's Echo and Colorblind. If you guys know them, you know them. Echo, I already mentioned them. Colorblind, I don't know enough to even say who they are or what kind of music they make. But I do know that they are an emotional artist along with Echo, and those two hand in hand, wow. The emotion, the sadness they were able to pull from that, insane. I was very happy with it, and it was far better than Float. It is one of the ones that worked. And yeah, I don't even really have much else to say about it, but if you like sad rap music, go give it a listen. Very much NF vibes, but a little bit more upbeat. And again, I will touch more on NF. I realized I never did. That is insane to me. He's one of my favorite artists, literally my favorite rapper, but I'm getting on a tangent. I'm not going to touch on that quite yet. Next in line, we got Halo by Call Me Charisma. Totally slept on that. Again, another kind of hip-hop artist that ended up having a single called Halo and Johnny 2, both in the same singles released like maybe a month apart. And Halo was really good. Johnny 2 was an attempt. I don't really know. Okay, so backtrack quite a few years, back to like 2019, maybe 2018. Call Me Charisma released a single called Johnny, and it made a lot of people upset. And later on, he dropped the Gloomy Tapes Volume 1, which had Johnny, the single, on the Gloomy Tapes, and a PSA before it, kind of warning everyone, like, hey, this song, it is what it is. I stand up for what I'm saying, and I wouldn't have it any other way. People need to be aware of this kind of stuff. And the song itself, it touches on a really heavy topic, and that heavy topic is underage students shooting up a school. An underage student shooting up a school. It was really hard to listen to, and that was the point of it. That's why he made it the way it was. And he said that it ended the way it did because he didn't want something that was supposed to be taken so serious to have a happy ending that people can just be like, oh, it was fine in the end. Like, no, this shit matters. It is a problem. Be it the gun violence or just the fact that the kid wants to fucking die and take some kids in his school with him. It's not okay. And I know it's a song, we're talking about the song here, but it's based on reality. Very, very true and very scary reality that we live in, especially in the United States. Again, I can't speak from personal experience, I don't live there. But seeing the news, not saying Canada's perfect either, we have our own fair share. But seeing the news just in general, be it Canada, USA, anywhere else in the world, the fact that this stuff happens is so disheartening and honestly revolting. The fact that it happens, I don't know why. And I wish it was a more serious issue rather than being like, oh, kids just bully other kids. It's just how it is. Like, why? Why is it that way? Why can't we try to be better? I know it's hard for kids because kids are kids, but they learn from parents, right? They learn from us, the adults. So can we really just say, oh, it's just kids being kids when they're being taught it to some extent? Like, I know that there is natural tendencies towards certain things, but the fact that they're learning it from humans, from adults, some of it can't be just inherited. Like, they can't just be born that way. Like, some of the things that are done to people, a lot of the thoughts that these kids tend to have, a lot of them are so impressionable and like sponges that they aren't able to really have an opinion of their own until they become an adult themselves. And then they can reflect on what they did and maybe whether or not it was right or wrong or change their own opinions, figure out who their true voice is inside. But sometimes that's too late. Sometimes it's like, oh shit, what what can one do? And that's to not go on too much more on a tangent. That song touched on that. And it made people aware of the problem. I know everyone's kind of already aware of it, but it did bring more light to it. Made a lot of people upset, but he ended up releasing a Johnny 2, which is, I will have to say, a loose sequel to Johnny. And I say that in the terms of, I don't think it's the same kid. I know that in the song, it kind of seems like a continuation, but at the same time, it feels like the kid is older. It feels like a little bit more, instead of being about the school shooting and that 12-year-old kid, it's more so about how people are using TikTok, the internet, anything like that, for clout and views. No matter what, no matter who it hurts, and no matter what they're doing. It's very disturbing as well in its own right, but I will have to say it kind of missed its mark as the first one hit it dead on. Really hard to follow up a song of that caliber, but he tried, and I will have to say ultimately he did. And though it wasn't my favorite, I can appreciate it for what it was and what he's trying to say. I feel like if you get the chance, go at least check out Johnny 1, and try to also, if you do check it out, reach out to somebody you know and tell them you love them. There just needs to be more love in this world. Be it a kid that is 12 years old, another adult that is your friend, whatever, regardless, spread some love, be kind to each other, and know that no matter what you're dealing with in a day, that other person next to you might be dealing with something too. So just be friendly. Try to be friendly. Be nice to each other. Come on. Anyways, aside from that, there was also Chemical Acoustic by The Devil Wears Prada. This dropped December 5th. We're getting a little bit closer to where I had to stop for the day. But Chemical Acoustic, that song, I've never actually heard the original. Mind you, I love The Devil Wears Prada, but was shown to them by my buddy Paul. Shout out to you, man. We've got a concert coming up, and I will touch on that in the next coming weeks because it is like February 6th, so the episode before that will probably touch on what concert I'm going to. I just don't want to give it away. It was a rescheduled one, which I might have already mentioned in a previous episode, but excited nonetheless. Where was I going with that? Chemical, right. That song, it was really good, but I hadn't heard the original. I haven't heard The Act, which is the album that the song is from. Came out before Color Decay, which is the one that I was introduced to first. Their most recent at the time, and still their most recent album, the acoustic song. That shit slapped. And then I did listen to the actual song and realized I definitely heard it at least once. I don't know it, but I've definitely heard it at least once before that. And honestly, I can't complain. Devil Wears Prada, they knock it out of the park every song that I've heard so far. And mind you, that is somebody saying that from the perspective of a newer fan. I don't know them as well as many people do, nor do I know them enough by any measure of the imagination. Aside from that, though, I re-listened to The Line. I can't get enough of that song. My God, that song just still absolutely destroys me. But I stopped there and actually found myself waiting on Nothing More 10th Anniversary, their self-titled record. And that one, I just kind of paused on that because I didn't have enough time in my day to continue on. But that's where I left off with the new releases. Mind you, there's still a lot more that I have to go back into the depths of 2024 to re-listen to or to finish. One that I've been meaning to listen to for quite a while, since it dropped at least, is GNX. Or Generation. The Kendrick album, the new Kendrick album, I think GNX is the name of it. Haven't heard a single song from it. Not even on TikTok, because I don't go on TikTok much, even though I just talked about it for like 10 minutes earlier. I really want to listen to it. I can respect Kendrick. Again, I was more so on his side than any other side, if I had to choose one for the Drake diss. And honestly, I just like the fact that he has admiration and respect and honors the game of hip-hop, because Drake sure the hell doesn't. Not saying that the album is about him. I don't want to make this conversation about him. Kendrick, I'm going to listen to your album at some point. hopefully in the next week. But apart from all of that, needless to say, I listened to a lot of new music that I hadn't heard before, and I'm very happy with myself. I'm happy that I finally was able to overcome that feeling of burnout that I felt because, man, that sucked. And I'm just proud of myself to say that I am finally making progress to some music that I've been meaning to listen to. Some music that I was really excited for and never got to listen to because I was burnt out as hell. Like, I didn't have any desire. Even Halsey. Halsey is one of my artists that I really enjoy. I can't say she's my favorite because I don't know all of her stuff, again. But for what I do know of her, respect, man. Especially the build up to this album, knowing all she was going through. Insane. I'm excited to listen to The Greatest Impersonator. Pretty sure that's the name of it. And whatever it is, whatever it brings me, I'm excited. I'm ready for it. And it's a shame that I never got to listen to it when it originally dropped because it probably was worth it. And in any sense, I'm looking forward to this coming week. Now, it's been a little bit of a tough week for me, just the one that I finished. I've been kind of struggling a little bit with feeling sad again. It's honestly like if I don't have a stimulation, any sort of stimulus, that I just kind of get sad. And no, that's probably not okay. It's probably not good. But I am able to talk to my friends. I'm able to reach out to you guys through here, yap about whatever I want to, even if nobody is listening, though I am thankful for anyone that is. I'm struggling, so if this episode kind of was short or ended up going on too much of a tangent to one way rather than the other, whatever it is, no, I'm sorry. I'm just dealing with things, going through it, and nothing too serious, don't worry, but I'll be back again next Monday. Good luck with everything. I'm going to go edit this and try to finish up the night watching some Wallace and Gromit because I just bought the 4K set from Sunrise Records, the place that I work, and got a nice, sweet discount on it. Nothing crazy, mind you, but something to make it a little bit more worth my while, though I always wanted these movies. I always wanted these shorts. I love Wallace and Gromit, and I am watching them all because I want to be ready for the new Netflix movie that they made, A Vengeance Most Foul. It is the newest movie in the Wallace and Gromit franchise, and it looks really exciting. They brought back Feathers McGraw. It looks so good in terms of claymation. I love stop motion, mind you. Favorite kind of animation. I know it's not for everybody. Reese, I know you hate it. It makes your skin crawl or your teeth feel weird. Whichever you say, either or, even if it's both. I love stop motion, and I know that Wallace and Gromit, I'm excited to see what shenanigans, what adventures they get up to in the new movie. I just wanted to take a flashback in memory lane. I haven't seen all of their old stuff, so I'm very excited to get to it, and I'm hoping it brings me up a little bit more than I've been feeling when I'm not listening to music or watching movies or, whatever the sorts. I just want to feel good, and I'm going to continue doing things that make me feel good, like this podcast and talking to my friends, watching these things, listening to the good stuff. Now, thank you so much for listening. If there's anything I missed touching on, it will be in the next episode, because I know I was a little bit all over the place today. But all the same, thanks so much for listening, and thank you for discovering the music within.